All right, I think we are live. So, good afternoon, everyone. If you weren't available on the previous 2 days, I'm Sandeep and I'm a front end developer as well as an instructor at AttainU. We at AttainU focus students to become software developers in just 7 months. So, this is our third day in learning JavaScript and to make sure that we are making this lockdown a bit beneficial to ourselves because it's always important to invest in ourselves, right? Not instead of wasting time playing PUBG or something else. Not to say that it's bad, it's just that we have to make our priorities clear. So today is our third day, as I said, and we are gonna speak about arrays and objects. So they are somewhat a complex sort of thing in JavaScript because they allow you to have multiple data in sort of a basket sort of thing, right? So we are going to learn much more about that. But before starting the lecture, I would like to see the comments on live chat, and yeah, that's it. Yesterday, I had a crappy video just because I have forgot to turn on an option in Zoom that is to turn on HD. I hope things will be better today. Let's see. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Vaibhav, hi, good morning, good afternoon to be frank. Good afternoon, Avinash. All right, so shall we start? Today we'll have a doubt session. Yeah, we will have, but can you have it at the end? Because if we can cover the topics, we'll be free enough to talk about the doubts, so that it will not tamper the session timings. Is that fine for you? Yeah. Okay. So as usual, for the newcomers here, I will have a setup which is sort of consisting of like 4 to 5 windows. One will be the code editor, and that the primary code editor would be Visual Studio Code. I'll just show you how to install it. Okay. Just go to your Google Chrome and make sure that you are having internet connection because obviously without internet connection you will not even see this. How dumb I am. Anyways, so let me just see this. Just 1 second. Give me one single second. It's just a one. Okay, great. So just go to Google Chrome and I have my whiteboard here. This is going to be our drawing sort of thing. If any concepts goes beyond our head, we'll be able to understand it better with the help of a pictorial representation. So I'll be using my electronic pen and board to just help you with understanding the concept, right? If suppose if anything comes up in a pretty weird manner. Yeah. So this is going to be our drawing board and this is going to be our live preview of whatever we do in code. You'll be seeing it here as the output itself. So as I just said, I am going to use Visual Studio Code, right? Visual Studio Code. So this is going to be our code editor. So just go here. It will automatically assume what type of operating system you are having. So it can be Windows, it can be Mac, it can be Linux. So you can install whichever operating system. It's operating system agnostic. All right, cool. So that is our official code editor for this 10-day lecture. So as I said, I'm going to start with our HTML. If you are new to this stream, so our structure for every single day would be like we'll be having an HTML file to make sure that that reveals the output because web is all about having HTML. We cannot show anything without having a basic structure. So in order to elevate the learning experience, we will use some sort of visual appearance. So for aiding the learning experience, we'll be using HTML. So HTML is the place where you can add your JavaScript files, and by that you can make sure it's working. So in Visual Studio Code, you have a shortcut command of exclamation mark. If you just press exclamation mark and press tab, you will get a basic boilerplate of the HTML code itself. I'll just give you a small introduction of what this consists of. So HTML is all about scripting, right? It's all about a tag-based language. You have an opening tag and you have a closing tag. A closing tag consists of a forward slash followed by the tag name itself. If you listen, sorry, if you give an attention closely to this document, you can see that we are having a HTML tag here, right? Following by this closing tag of HTML, we will be having a body tag, which is also having a closing tag of the body itself. So HTML is some sort of like a human. We have a head, we have a body. Similarly, HTML also has a head tag and a body tag and a footer tag. So yes, this is basically HTML. Since this is not a HTML code, I won't be going too much deeper into it. Our main intention is to just make sure this acts as a visual representation layer. So in order to inject any JavaScript files, I'll be using my script tag because script is intended for injecting JavaScript files. So I'll be using the source attribute, and I'm going to use the relative path. If you are unaware of relative, I will be spending about 5 to 6 minutes on the last lecture. So you can go and visit to learn the difference between absolute path and relative path. In short, relative path gives you the starting directory from where your application is stored. In other words, where your file is stored. So what is our parent directory here? Day 3 is our parent directory because today, since it's our day 3, I have organized in the fashion that it would be better if it is arranged in folder wise. So day 3 is my directory, and inside that directory we have 2 files. So relative path is something that will take the immediate parent as the home folder. Whereas in absolute path, it will take the very first folder which is present in your operating system. In Windows, I think it's C directory. In Macintosh, it's just a tilde operator. Tilde is something which is near to your number 1 key in your keyboard, which is left to your number 1 key. I'll even type this. This is the tilde operator, right? So this is like the home directory in my Macintosh. Whereas in your Windows PC, it might be C directory or it might be even anything. So absolute is something, it comes from way from your home directory. Whereas here, it comes from the immediate parent. So in order to invoke the relative method, all you have to do is just press period and forward slash and then type in the file you want. In our case, it's app.js, right? So this is what all we have to do. And all I'm going to do is just go to app.js and then just have alert and press as connected. All right. So basically, alert is something. I'll just give you a small replay or like recap of what we have done yesterday. We have discussed the different variables. We have discussed the different types of data that can be injected to variables. And we have discussed what types of printing can be done, blocking output, non-blocking output, and how we can take input. So this is sort of a blocking output. Alert is a function, or you can think it as a servant. Alert is something which allows you to take an input and then put it as a pop-up window. I'll show you how it's done. So if I press Command Save, and to those who have arrived new to this session, I have activated the auto save feature so that you don't have to like keep on press the save button again and again. That is why. So let me just go to my output window, and if I reload it, you could see a pop-up shows the message as connected because that is what we have done in our connected. All right. So that is pretty much about blocking output. The non-blocking output is something we have learned yesterday. It's document.write. Document.write allows you to write on this white area. This white area is entirely the HTML page where you can do any sorts of markup. We will be learning more when we were having a final project, right? So that is it. So if I just reload it once again, you could see I didn't write anything, so I'll just put it as hello world, right? Now, if I reload it once again, you could see the hello world is getting printed here. So that is a recap of yesterday's printing statements. So today it's all about arrays and objects, right? We're going to learn what is an array, how to add an elements in an array, what are the types of array, all right? And yeah, that is about it on arrays. On objects, similarly, what is an object, how to create an object, what are all the types of objects. Is that okay enough for you all? So let me take this as a chance to visit the live chat and we'll move ahead. So, just give me 1 second. Yeah. Everything is good. I think today's video is a bit great. mm, I mean, you have to be the judges. You guys are only judges for my quality. Let me just check here as well. All right, automatic. It's on 360p. Okay, fine. Is my audio and video check? Because I have checked it twice and thrice. That's good. Great, super. So let us start learning about arrays. What is an array? So let's go to a shopping. Let's take it as an example of a shopping market, right? A supermarket sort of thing. You go to a supermarket. You nowadays, since plastic bags have been banned, we are accustomed to bring our own bags to make sure that we take our goods as we check out. So we go to a supermarket, we buy some vegetables, we buy some groceries, and we buy some juices or whatever, snacks or chocolates we want, and we check out at the end of the purchase, right? So the bag which we are bringing or which they give is eventually a sort of a wrapper, right? It allows you to put multi items of different types. So similarly, in programming, this is not JavaScript specialized thing. This is common to every single programming language. In programming, arrays is a base to have multiple data in a single basket sort of thing or a container sort of thing. Let me rephrase it in other words. So say that you are holding institutions academic data, right? You have all the students marks of all the subjects. So if you want to have a repository or a storage sort of thing, will you be typing variables for each and every student? Let's say we have this scenario. We have 10 students, right? We have Ramesh, Mukesh, Rajesh, and etc. etc. So they all have their own marks, and their marks are as follows, right? So Ramesh mark, let me just comment it. By the way, if you do not know what is this is basically a comment which will not interfere any of the code we are going to type. This is basically done for human purposes, like to elevate the code's legibility and readability. We are using comments. So this is a comment, and it's activated or it's created with the help of two forward slashes. All right. So with that said, I'm going to give you the data for Ramesh. All right. Ramesh has a mark of 96, and Mukesh has a mark of 98. All are nerds. And Anjali has a mark of 99. And then we have Tom as a mark of 92. Sorry, 93, whatever. So would you be creating variables as like this? Var Ramesh mark equal to 96 and var Mukesh mark as 98, var Anjali mark is equal to 99, var Tom mark is equal to 93. Would you be doing this for 1,000 students? Isn't it feeling a bit repetitive or redundant or some sort of thing? This makes a bit frustrated, right? So there is a way for it. That's what I was telling before. Arrays are something which is kind of a shopping basket, which allows you to wrap all the things which you are intending to contain in that. So it's like a collection, yeah, a collection of data which allows you to put inside it. So instead of creating 4 to 5 variables, what if we can have an array called marks, right? What if we could contain one single variable and contain all of the marks in one shot? How does that sound? It sounds a pretty convenient and efficient way, right? So that is why arrays are existent. So in order to create a new array, let me just come to the drawing thing. So arrays are something, where is it? Yeah, why is my, yeah. So arrays, it's like a collection of data. That is all about array. It is just a collection of data, right? So you can use different data types to hold, right? There is no restriction of you could only use string variables inside. You could only use number variables inside. You can use all the data types which was explained yesterday. So you can use undefined, you can use null, you can use numbers, you can use booleans, you can use strings and everything. So arrays is a collection of data, and you can use different types of data type. So to hold it inside. And lastly, to create a new array, all you have to do is just create the same syntax as we have used for creating a variable. You should use the var keyword, right? And followed by the variable name. In our case, let's just use marks. And pardon me if the handwriting is a bit stout and stretchy. I'm trying to be as legible as possible. So you equalize it, right? And to create an array, all you have to do is just put square brackets. All right, this is called as square brackets. Let me tell you the technical jargons of each punctuations that we are going to use in JavaScript language. This circular or semicircular sort of brackets is called as parenthesis. All right, parenthesis. This squiggly line sort of bracket is called as I forgot it. Curly braces. Yeah, curly braces. And this is called as square braces. All right, so square braces, because it's like a half rectangle sort of thing. If you merge together, it will become a square. That is why they have kept it as a square. Don't tell me why they didn't call this as circular braces. I do not know. They have kept it as parentheses. And this is called as curly braces. Each of this has a unique purpose in JavaScript or in any programming language. Whenever you see square braces, it means that it's an array. They have used an array or some sort of collection, mentioning it as a collection, right? In Python, we call it as a list. In Java, we call it as a collection or linked list or whatever. But in Java. In Java, we call it as list or collection or whatever. In JavaScript, we call it as array. All right. So that is it for the introduction of array. We create a new array with the help of the variable, with the help of the var keyword, followed by the name of the variable is equal to the square brace, pair of square brackets. If you ask me where it's located right to your letter P. Just find your letter P in the keyboard and it's right to the letter. Right. So let me just create a new array called students marks, right? And I will put all of my data here. So if I have Ramesh mark here and I'll put the variable here, or let's just say we keep the number itself if you are feeling a bit confused. So 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100. And as I just said, arrays are not only limited to have one single data type, but you can have multi-data types. You can have strings, you can have booleans, you can have undefined, and that is possible, but it is not like universally true. In some of these languages, it is a bit limited, like C and C++, in Java even, you are forced to use only one sort of data type, because if you are creating an array of integers, it will create the memory before you are expanding the array itself, and it is necessary to determine the size of that array as well. Here, the size of the array is defined as the number of elements which is present inside the array. So here in our case, the size of the array is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this array size is 6. But whereas in Java or any older languages, we are accustomed to specify the size even before we enter the data. That is somewhat rigid, right? Because what if we have an uncertainty of the size of the array? What if we do not know the size of the array before even we are injecting the data? So that is a sort of memory wastage, right? So you can have two possible solutions. You can either expand the array by resizing it, or you can predefine it with a huge size array. So the memory might get wasted, right? So what if we have like 10 students, and what if we had the size of the array as 100? 90 units are getting wasted. So those disadvantages are covered in JavaScript. There are no limitations in mentioning the size, or there is no memory leaks at all. JavaScript will take care of that. So as I just said, there are some limitations in the older languages where you are forced to use only one data type in an array. If you are mentioning it as an integer array, it is definitely not possible to use strings or booleans inside that array. You have to use integers only. But whereas in JavaScript, that is not an issue. You can have, I'm just creating a variable called garbage array because this doesn't make any sense, right? That's what. So I'll just put some name here. You can have 54. You can have true here, right? You can have undefined even, and you can have null. So this is entirely all right. This is not at all an issue, right? So let me just save it. And if I just go to my live reload thing, right? I'll just reload. Nothing will happen because I have removed the alert and document.write. So what if you want to get this value, get the value of the array? Well, it turns out there is a special debugging tool in every browser. If you aren't aware of it, we have a developer sort of tool in every single browser, be it Safari, be it Google Chrome, be it Firefox, be it Opera, be it anything. It has a developer tool built in, and that is very, very useful for developers like us, right? So, in order to get that developer console, you have to right click on the browser, just click right click and use the inspect key, which is available both on Windows as well as Mac, because it doesn't, it is not operating system agnostic. So you can use the developer console. So as you can see, we have this particular window popped up. All it shows is it has some 5 to 6 tabs here. Let me just give you a brief introduction of what each of these tabs do. So we have this elements here, which literally shows you what is the HTML present in this document, or in other words, this white space area. Since there is nothing much inside HTML, any element will not be shown here. Just like how you will go to a website, you will have lots of designs, lots of elements popping here and there, right? But since we didn't use any element here, that is why we aren't getting any data, or we aren't having any visual interaction. You can make it even more interesting by just going inside the HTML and have a H1 tag displaying our topic of today. So day 3, it's going to be arrays and objects, right? So I'll just define the heading here. H1, if you're not familiar with H1, it's just a heading tag which allows you to have a heading, just like how we have in our assignments. If you are creating an assignment, you have a title, right? You put margins and you present a neat presentation of what you're gonna have about the assignment itself. So it could be an essay or something. So if you just reload it here, you could see the heading is present in a bold format. So that is exactly what elements are, people. You can literally view your HTML in this particular tab. But that is not what we are for here. We can use our JavaScript skills, all right? We can code our JavaScript skills, but before that, let me just zoom a bit here because this is a lot tinier, that's why. So I think now it's fine. So let me just drag it a little bit so that you can even see that. So the next tab is the thing which we will be using for the next 7 to 8 days, right? So this console tab is where, one, you can have the data of pre-registered variables which were written in the code, or you can literally code your JavaScript here. I will even prove you that. So if I use alert, and if I used this from the browser itself, right? I'm just typing a random string here. And if I press enter, you could see that JavaScript is running natively on the browser itself. And how does this happen? If you visited the first lecture, I think now you can get the answer. This is all because of the browser engine, which is running on each browser. We have SpiderMonkey for Firefox, and we have V8 for Google Chrome. And since we are using Google Chrome, I think V8 is responsible for it. So point number 1, JavaScript can be written natively on every single browser. You do not have to use any editor, or you do not have to use any external compiler, just like C, C++, Java, or Python. You can just literally use Google Chrome and it will work fine. Or secondly, you can just inspect the variables which have been previously created. I'll just rephrase what I meant. So in our code, we have used some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables, right? In order to know what is the value of each variable, all you have to do is type the name of the variable. So we have Ramesh Mart, right? So all I have to do is just type here called Ramesh Mart. As you can see, I get the value as 98. Could you see the arrows here, people? The arrows is a bit different here. We could see the arrow is pointing from left to right. That means we have to type something, and the result is coming back as right to left. The arrow is like this, right to left. So that means the output is coming back. So we have our own input and the output is bouncing back. That is a small symbol which allows a lot of information, yeah, to understand. So that is how we can use our variables. Why I have taught you all these things? Because you need to have a foundation of what this developer tools is and everything. Otherwise, you'll get confused and you feel that the stream is boring or it's non-understandable. That's why. All right, so if I go to my students' marks, you could see I have a bunch of numbers, right? So I just go here and press students' marks. And as you could see, we have got the value of it. So you could ask me, how would I put it inside the HTML sort of white color slate? It's pretty simple. All you have to do is just put document.write, right? And put in the students marks. That's it. So now if I go here and reload it, you can see the array is getting printed here as well. How cool is that? You can have either your output on your screen, or you can play around in this playground sort of thing, which is provided by every single browser. This is called as REPL. I will just write it here to make sure that you guys are understanding. It is called as REPL. I will be explaining this more about on the upcoming lectures. All right. So for now, just understand that this is like a software which is embedded in every single browser, which allows you to write native JavaScript on browser itself. You do not need to have any sort of compiler or external help. All right. That's all. So that is all about arrays. Introduction to it. We didn't complete everything. So you could ask me, Sandeep, if you wanna get an element from this array, how would I do that? Because we have batched everything. And what if I wanna pick a particular element from that collection? Well, turns out every single element is index based. What is an index? Well, index is a sort of position, or in other words, the location where each element presents. So in our shopping bag, just imagine what if we had a sort of map. In every game, we used to have a map, right? I can guess everyone would have at least played GTA or any sorts of free roaming games. In those games, you have a map indicating where you are located and where should you go for the next mission or something. So imagine what if you had a map like that inside your shopping bag, which points to every single item you have here inside that shopping bag. So you have a big bag and you have all the vegetables and groceries. What if you have an organized way of pointing out the location of each item? That is exactly what index is. So index is all about positioning, right, an item, right? So in our case, we had all the marks, right? We had 91, 92, 93, and 94, and so on. So what if I would want to get a particular element out of this collection? Well, we should use this index strategy. Turns out in every language, arrays do not start from one. This is very, very important. Arrays don't start from one. You should not start from one. You should never count one if you are a programmer. You should not at all start from one. Arrays do not start from one. But instead, the first element, all right, the first element in this array is mentioned as index 0. The second element is only called as index 1, and so on. The third element is as index 2, and the fourth element is as index 3. So now you know what an index is. Shall we try to get the element which is 93 in this array? So let's go back to VS Code and let me just write document.write, right? And I just told you how to get a element in the drawing. So what if we want to get the number 97? So let us start counting. 95 is 0th index, 96 is first index, and 97 is second index. So the syntax of getting an element from an array is, I'll just write here, getting an element, right? Getting an element from an array is equal to the array name, right? You have to just mention the array's variable name. This is the variable name of the array. Students marks is the name of the array. Garbage array is the name of that array. So you have to mention the name of that array, right? Name of that array, followed by the square braces, which we had mentioned before. And here you have to mention the index, which we were discussing before. So in our case, if you want to get the number 97, you have to call the index as 2. So what you could do is to remember this, if you felt that this deduction of 1 is pretty much confusing, there are two sorts of indication for a element, right? One is real life count and the other one is programmatic count. So in order to differentiate between real life count and programmatic count, all you have to do is just start from 1 for real life, because obviously we start to count from 1, right? So we have the number 1 for 95, number 2 for 96, and number 3 for 97. To convert it into a programmatic size or programmatic position, you have to subtract 1 from it. That's it. Since I don't want to complicate much on that, I just told that you have to start from 0. How does that sound? If you felt like having to start from 0 is easier, go ahead. Or if you felt like you have to deduct 1 after you reach the destination, that is also fine. So I'll just use the 0th method here. So since 97 is on position number 2, all I have to do is just mention the position here. That's it. So you'll be getting the value here. Shall we try that? So all we have to do is go here, reload it, and if I press name array, all right, there is no variable called name array. Sorry for that. It's students marks. So if I just go here to students marks and have it the index of 2, and if I close these square brackets, you could see I'm getting the value as 97. So this, my people, is exactly how you would access an element from a collection. Think of index as a map to each and every element. It reveals the position of that element, all right? So that is all about arrays. So you can literally create your array here as well. As I just told you, this is sort of a playground where you can create your own JavaScript as well as receive the pre-registered variables as well. So I'm going to create an just a variable here. So I just create YouTube member neighbors name member names. Yeah, YouTube member names is equal to, I'm gonna just start reading some of the names in live chat. Okay. Avinash, Deepak, Chandan. Yeah. So I'll just write you guys' names. Avinash, Chandan, Deepak, right? And I'll close the square braces. So this is all about an array. So now if I call the variable itself, you could see I'm getting the output as the array itself. So there is this arrow mark here, which is sort of amusing. So what if I click it? Okay, it gives me a valid information about that array in a more detailed manner. Just neglect this proto thing. You don't want to learn that now. We'll just concentrate on this 0, 1, 2, 3. So can you see a bit informative here? You can get the index of it, all right, which is 0, and you can get the value of it, which is going to be the string which we injected. So that is going to be Avinash, and first index corresponds to Chandan, second index corresponds to Deepak. So this is exactly how arrays work. Why did I show you this? Well, this corresponds to our next topic, which is of objects. You can see a sort of key value pair. You have a key here and you have a value here that corresponds with each other. So that is exactly why when I was calling the size or index or position, it gave me the value of that particular position. So in our case, at position number 2, we had 97. That is why we were able to extract the value out of the collection. And you could see another sort of property here, or a sort of pair, a key value pair. The length property gives you the size of the array. As I was telling before, the size of the array is nothing but telling you the details of that array in terms of count. So if you had 6 mark array, your size will be obviously 6. If you had 3 elemented array, its size is going to be 3. So the length property gives you the size of an array, right? All you have to do is just use YouTube names dot length, right? Again, this is going to be discussed in objects. This is just a syntax of accessing a property, all right? So yes, that is all about it. Let me just clear it. And as you can see, if I use the clear method and followed by the parenthesis, again, this is a servant which allows us to erase this slate, right? This is a digital state. Consider this as a digital state, and this allows us to erase this digital state. Or you can just go here and press this button and everything will be clear as well. So that is all about arrays. Let me just see the live chat here. All right, everything is going good. Let me just zoom here as well. Fine. How does JS implement multiple data type array? Well, Adrish, it does not have any sorts of limitations in memory. That is why actually in C and C++ also you can do that. The only limitation is because you are predefining the memory for the array. So let's just say, one second. Let's just say we have the following knowledge. Yeah, we have the following concepts wrapped up. For an integer, right? For an integer, it takes 4 bytes. All right. What is a byte? Well, it's a memory representation to just say that it is this much amount of space. I don't want to go too deep on bytes. Well, 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. And as I have told you on yesterday's lecture, if you weren't there, I'll just give you a recap. Computers do not understand English or any sorts of language. They understand only a sequence of zeros and ones, right? So if you represent a 0, this has 1 bit. So this is 1 bit. And if you if you represent a 1, this also represents a bit. So likewise, if you stack these things in a sequential manner for about 8 times, it corresponds to 1 byte, right? So likewise, if you do that for 4 times, that is the memory storage required for an integer to get stored in your memory, right? On the previous programming languages, you were not allowed to have dynamic memory allocation. I mean, you can have that with the help of malloc and calloc for those guys who have learned C and C++. But you cannot do that natively in any language, in any of the older languages. That is why nowadays, as computers became modern, the languages should also become modern, right? So that is why JavaScript has the efficiency to hold multi-data types. You can hold strings, you can hold integers. Strings are of n bytes. And what does that n mean? The n represents the number of characters. So character is nothing but 1 letter. It could be anything. It could be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, anything. Character represents to 1 byte. So if you are considering Apple, A-P-P-L-E, how many characters does it have? 5 characters. So this corresponds to 5 bytes. Sorry. So this is a different memory structure. And we have decimals as well, right? In other languages, you need to mention the data type as float, right? Whereas here, you do not have to segregate between normal numbers and decimal numbers. Everything comes under a big umbrella called number. That's it. The big sort of hierarchy called as number. So what else we have? Boolean, yeah. Boolean also has 1 byte. So could you see the varying of memory management inside the variables? So we have 4 bytes for integers, n bytes for strings, 1 byte for boolean. So how can the older compilers understand that I'm gonna give the correct amount of size? That is impossible, right? If we are specifying an integer array of set size, how we can breach it? That is why we weren't able to put multi-data types. So as time progressed, we had the opportunity to have multiple data types only because of the advancement in memory management. That's it. That is the answer to your question. All right, so let us move ahead with the array thing. All right, let's say we have this array, and I think that is pretty much about it on arrays. We have learned how to create an array. Again, I'll just give you a recap sort of thing. To create an array, all you have to do is just put the var keyword and followed by the variable name, the array name itself, and you press the equal to sign, and then you open and close the square braces, right? And followed by that, you inject all your data inside that particular square braces, right? So that is how you create an array. And in order to make sure you access the element, a single element inside that, you are going to use the indexing pattern. Well, index is nothing but a position which allows you to reveal the location of a certain element in that collection, right? So index is starting from 0. Every array starts from 0. So we have to calculate 0th index followed by 1 index, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? So just keep this strategy in your mind. I'll just write it here to make sure that it's recorded and you can rewind it. So if array contains n elements, right? If array contains n elements, then the last index is n minus 1 because it makes sense, right? If you have 6 elements, then the last index of that array would be 5. So the last index, right, of that array is equal to n minus 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. If we were having an array like this, what is the length of this array? 4, because it contains 4 elements. If the array contains 4 elements, the last index of that array would be what? 3. You can keep that as a shortcut to just have the index 3. All right. So that is all about it on arrays. I think I was pretty clear. If you had any doubts, please put it on the live chat so that I can see it and answer your query. How to declare alphanumeric variable? How memory is allocated for it? Well, there is no particular variable type as alphanumeric, but however, you can put it inside string. So you can have it as like this, ABC 1, 2, 3. This is only possible. You cannot have alphanumeric variables because you are trying to compare between two indifferent types, right? Sorry, yeah, you're trying to compare between different types. So that is why you cannot have an alphanumeric variable. You can, however, use a string and wrap characters as well as numbers. This is entirely valid, but having like this is not valid, right? In any programming language, not only in JavaScript, in any programming language, because this is different and this is different. You can merge, right? That's good. All right. So do we have lists in JS? Lists is something just we have learned, Sarvesh. This is lists. Array is list in Python. Yeah. All right. So let's move on with our next topic that is going to be objects, right? Objects are somewhat similar to arrays, but their representation is quite different, right? In data structures, which is like an intermediate topic for CS topics, it is sort of like a hash map. If anyone have heard of it, it's sort of a hash map where you have a key value pair. Just like how we have in a dictionary. I guess everyone would have learned Oxford words inside. When I was a kid, I was allowed to have a dictionary round. Like if I found the word for that particular day, the teacher would be writing some unknown word. That is to make sure that we are learning new words every day. The teacher would write some word, and we everyone would be like scrambling the dictionary now at a time. So the person who finds the word first will be the leader for that day. So it's like a motivation for kids. We will be doing that. So dictionary is some sort of a valid example for this object. In dictionaries, we have the word corresponding to it. We have a meaning, correct? So if we go to a dictionary, visit the word called apple. The apple will be present there, and the meaning to that particular word will also be present. Am I right? So that is exactly what hash maps, or in other words, objects, does in JavaScript. So how do we exactly create an object? Well, let me just keep it as objects, right? Objects. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how do I create an object. Well, all you have to do is same strategy, use var, all right, followed by the variable name. I'm just going to keep it as, what can I keep? Yeah, let me just keep it as fruits, right? Let me keep it as fruits, and each fruit will have a color, right? So that I'm going to keep it in that way. So I'm going to create it with equalizing. Whenever you see this equalize, this is called as assignment operator, right? Tomorrow we are going to see about operators and conditional ways, right? So tomorrow's lecture is all going to be operators. So for now, this is like a tidbit to tomorrow's lecture. Assignment operator is something which you assign a value to a variable. That's it. That is all about it. So var fruits is equal to, you're gonna create an object with the help of a curly brace. As I just told you in the starting of the lecture, curly brace is something which you have a squiggly line, and that is located near to your letter P as well, but you have to press the shift key along with it. If you do not press the shift key, it will have square braces. If you press the shift key along with the square braces, it will turn into curly braces, right? So here, what you're going to do is you'll be putting a key, right? And you will have a colon, and then you'll put a value here. That is all about it. If you want to have multiple key value pairs, you separate them with a comma. So if you separate it with a comma, you can now have another key value pair. So E1 and value 1. That's it. The key can be having only string and integer types, because that is the smallest limitation in JavaScript. Keys only can be in strings and integers. All right. So you can only have strings and integers as keys. Whereas in values, you can have any sorts of possibilities. You can even have arrays inside objects. You can even have the, what can I say, numbers, strings, booleans, undefined, null, anything. Whereas the key has some sort of a limitation. Value does not have any sort of limitation. So shall we create a new object? And that is done with the help of, just as I said, as I have told you guys, it's done with the help of var, right? Object name, which in our case it's fruits, and we equalize it. We start and close it with a curly brace. We press enter to start coding it. And I'm going to just have it as apple. All right. I'm going to have it a string here. I'm going to have a colon and followed by the color of it. What is the color of the apple? Obviously, it's red. And since I'm going to have more than one key value pair, I'm going to have it as a comma, right? I'm going to have it here as the next line. Orange as orange, grape as purple, and peach as pink, right? So this is how we create an object. As I just told you, you you do not have any restrictions of having only one data type. You can have multiple data types as well. You can have integers here, you can have undefined, you can have null, you can even have arrays here. Let me just show you how to have an array value inside a key. So here, what can we do is I'll just put a key called weights, right? Weights is a sort of property which gives you the value of each weight of the fruit, one fruit. I'm just gonna guess it. All right, that's not gonna be accurate or something. So the weight of one apple would be somewhere around 100 grams, I think so. The orange would be like somewhere between 70 grams, and the grape would be like 10 grams or something. On peach should be somewhere around 80 grams. So as you can see, we can have arrays as well inside objects. So this is literally a sort of key value mapping strategy. So you can have it as a dictionary, you can name it as a hash map, you can name it as object because they differ in terms of naming, terminologies in different languages. In Python, you call it as dictionaries, right? Because this literally exhibit the behavior of dictionary, right? That is why they have kept it as dictionaries. You have hash map, right? You call it as a hash map in some other languages. So that is all about it. Primarily, the idea is you have a key value pair. That's it. And if I just go back to my output, right, I just click here. And if I press the value of fruits, as you can see, I'm getting the object here. And as I said before, we have this arrow mark here, right? If I press arrow, you could see I'm getting all the properties which I mentioned before, followed by the values as well. We have the apple, we have red, we have orange, we have grape as purple, peach as pink, and weights as the array. So as I just showed you before, could you see some sort of similarity between objects and arrays? Let me just print an array here as well. I'll get the students' marks, right? I'll get students' marks, and I will expand the same as I did for object. Could you see any similarity here, people? We have the property here as apple, we have a value here. Similarly, we have a property here and we have a value here. We have a property here as orange, we have a value as orange. We have a property here as 1 and we have a value as 96. So what can you detect from this particular observation? I will just give you 5 seconds to think of, and I'll reveal it. All right. Meanwhile, I'll just see the live chat. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, that's it. I'm receiving some answers as well. Meanwhile, I was seeing on the chat. Yes. So let me tell you the answer. Drum roll. So the answer is arrays and objects are same in JavaScript. In JavaScript, that is very essential. In JavaScript, everything is an object. All right. You should have this in your mind. Everything is an object. I will let you know more about this on the upcoming lectures. But as of now, every single data type which you are creating is somewhat being derived from an object. That is the main goal of JavaScript. JavaScript's implementation has been done in a factor of having objects. They will be having objects, and from that object, it will be typecasted to a certain data type. So whatever data type which you are seeing here, it may seem like you're having a number, but turns out behind the scenes, it was created from an object. Everything in JavaScript is an object, right? So that is exactly why I was having it as a suspense. So fruits is an object that we clearly made it. That is no problem. But even though we created in a different manner for array, you could see that we have a key value pair here. So this clearly states that it is also an object. But we did not have a length property inside our object, but they have automatically added the length property here. So that comes to our next topic, accessing a property in an object. All right. So let me just bring out my whiteboard, right? Where is it? Yeah, I do not have much space. That's why I'm zooming in and out. Sorry for that. So accessing a property in an object. All right. So let us take the previous example, what we have used for creating an object. So that is nothing but the key value pair, which I was saying, key value and key one, value one. Right. So how do we access a property inside this particular object? It is pretty simple. You would have obviously created this in a variable. So obviously the variable has a name. So let us take that variable name. I'm just going to put as var name because that will seem a bit generalistic. That is well. It has two ways. All right, we have two ways to access a property. Like arrays, all right, like array, we can use square bracket strategies or we can use the dot strategy. I'll just tell the square strategy first and then I'll move ahead with the dot strategy. All right. So here we have the key, right? We have the key and we have key one. In order to get the value of this particular key, all you have to do is just wrap it inside a string. So let me just put as key and I'll close it. That's it. So this will give you the value. Right? So if I want to have the value of key one, I'll have to just do it as var name. Remember, this is the object name that I have kept for it to sound even more general. That's right. So key one would be the string which is present inside the square braces, and this will give me the value 1, right? Sorry for that. So let us try that inside our code editor. So let me go here, right? Let me clear everything, and I just type once again the fruits object, right? So fruits object consists of key of apple, red, and you know the drill. So what if I want to get the color of grape? As I just told you, it's done with the help of fruits, all right, followed by some quotations. It could be either single quotation or double quotation, that doesn't matter. So let me just put the key name here, which is obviously grape. And if I close it, and if I get the square brackets closed as well, and I press enter, you could see the value is being shown as purple. This is one strategy, right? You can use numbers here, you can use strings here as well. So I'll just name it a new object here itself, var demo object is equal to, I'm just going to have a number here, number, and the alphabetical name for that number. It's going to be 4, right? So you can ask me, how would I access this value of property 4? Well, turns out you can do that with the help of wrapping it inside here. And if you close this, you see, you can have it as 4. That's it. So this is exactly how arrays work. That is why I was saying again and again from the beginning that they are pretty much similar, right? So this is one strategy. The next strategy would be to use the dot notation, and how it is done, that is also pretty easy to grasp. So let us take the same example here. Key as value and key one as value 1, right? So how do we access the value with the help of dot notation or dot strategy? Well, again, you need to have the object name. Let me just keep it as var name dot and the property name. That is why we were able to have the length property of an array. Now do you get it? So I have to access the key name as key. This would give me the value. So this is the next sort of approach to get the value of a property. So if I go back once again, right? If I go back here and let me just put fruits, and if I press enter, you can see the object is print out, nothing special. But what if I want to get the color of peach? Well, all you can do is you can use fruits dot peach. That's it. You will get the value of that particular property. And that is why we were able to get the length property as well. Now do you get it? So you have the value as 6. Let me also expand that array to clarify you what's happening. We have a value and we have a key. So 0th index of 95, first index of 96, second index of 97, all the way up to length property of 6. So that is why we were able to access it like this. Let me just check if you can do it in other way. Students marks of length, and fortunately and happily, yes, you can do it as array notation. You can either do it in a dot notation or you can do it in array notation. So that is all for objects and everything. We can also have, as I just said before, we can also have an array as a value and even objects as a value. Let me show you that. So let's say that we have movies, all right, which has sequels, just like we have Harry Potter. Harry Potter has 8 parts, right? And we have Fast and Furious. We have some other movies, Toy Story. So let us create movies as the key name and an object as a value. Let me tell you. Let me explain how does that work. So var sequels. I'm going to keep it as sequels, and I'm going to open and close the object here, right? So this is not the right place to teach you. So let me just go back to my Visual Studio Code, because some students, when I was teaching, they felt that Visual Studio is like comfortable to learn. So let me just have here nested object example, right? So let me just have it like this, and I'm going to create a new variable called sequels, and this is going to be an object, right? Here I'm going to name all the movie names. Also, the value will be an object as well. So it's going to be Harry Potter. Right? This is going to be an object. Let's leave it empty for now. I'll name all the remembering names which I have in my mind. So Batman, it's also going to be an object. And we have Toy Story. We have Shrek. And that is enough for now. I don't want to extend it much and much. So this is going to be, right, an object. And as I just told you, the sequels will have a name as the key and the released year as the value. So the first thing is going to be sorcerers. Stone. Pardon me for the typo. When was it released? Let me just guess a random. I think it's 2000, right? I'm not sure. Chamber of Secrets. It's on 2002, I guess. 2002. Let me just stop with Prisoners of Azkaban. Prisoners of Azkaban on 2004. All right. 2004. Great. So likewise, I'm going to do it the same for other movies as well. Keep it as a caps so that you can get it. All right. Bat. I'll keep it as bat. I do not remember the names of it. 1956 and Dark Knight. I think it was 2007. Not sure. Is there any newer Batman movie? It was Superman versus Batman, right? Superman versus Batman on 2015. All right. So this is Toy Story. Toy Story 1. I think it was back in 1988. I'm not sure. Toy Story 2. That happened on 2008, I believe. Or 2005. I'm not sure. I'm not good at remembering years actually. Toy Story 3. You get the idea, right? 2008 and Toy Story 4 happened on 2020, right? Or 19. I think it was 19. Yeah. Toy Story 4 on 2019. Let's leave out strict because it's taking too much of time. All right, let me just save it and let me go back to my output. And if I press sequels, the main goal for doing all these movies is to learn how can we access nested objects, right? So if I press sequels, you could see we have key value pass, but the value seems to have an object as well. So this is like an object within an object, right? So if I expand it, you could see we have Harry Potter, and this is also an object. So let me expand it further. So this is going to be all the values with the keys along with it. So let me expand all of the movies which I just entered. So how could I access Prisoners of Azkaban? Well, all you can do is you can see you can do it in two methods. As I just told you, you can do it either in array strategy or in dot strategy. So sequels dot Harry Potter, okay? Harry, yeah. All right. So first, let me do it for Harry Potter and followed by Chamber of Secrets. Right. So you can see I am getting the value of 2002. Similarly, I could do the same for Toy Story and Toy Story 1. So that would give me the value of 1980. One thing I forgot to mention is that if your properties, sorry, if your key names has a space, you cannot access with the help of dot notation. It should not have a space if you want to have it, if you want to access it via dot notation. If there is a space in it and if you cannot help it, you can use only the array notation. That is why I wasn't able to access with the help of dot notation. So I could even prove you that Harry Potter. Right? If I press enter, you could see I'm getting an error, unexpected identifier. Because there is a space here, JavaScript will think that, all right, I do not know how to parse it, so let me just tell you an error. It doesn't know how to parse it. You cannot do like this either, I think. Equals dot Harry Potter. Right? You cannot do this as well. You can only use strings inside array notations. So that is why I told you that if you had spaces in your properties, you can only use array notation. You cannot use a dot notation. That is it for objects. So just practice it today. All right. Go to your code editor, try to create objects and try to create arrays. Try to have a sort of nested arrays within objects. You can have objects even inside your array. Let me just tell you what I'm trying to do. So let me have the, what can I say? Yeah, you can have it as, I'm just having a thought process here. All right. So let me have fruits attributes. All right. Fruits attributes. It's going to be an array, but each element is going to be an object. So let me just say what I'm trying to mean. This is going to be an object. This is going to be an object. This is going to be an object as well. And each object has some sort of key value pairs. I don't want to confuse with all the values. Let me just come straight to the point. So 1, right? This has the value of 2. And this has the value of 3, right? So now if I press enter and ask for fruits attributes, you could see I have an array of objects. We had array of numbers, we had array of strings, we had array of every single data type. Now we have array of objects. So let us just try to decode what this array contains. So let me just expand it. And as you could see, we have the index 0 corresponding to the first object. So let me just expand it even more further. And this gives me the object's key value back. And if I expand it like the same for every single thing, you can see I'm having the object. So how would I get the value of the key 3? Well, it's easy. All you have to do is fruits attributes. Since it's an array, you can only access it via index, as I told you before. At which location this object exists? The position I'm asking. So for that, I should get the length of the fruits attributes. What is the length of the array? It is 3 because we have 3 objects. So what is the position of the last object? As I told you before, if the array contains n elements, the last index of the array would be n minus 1. So in our case, this would be 2, right? So the fruits attributes of fruits attributes, uh, sorry for that, fruits attributes of 2 would give me the last element, which is obviously the object. Now, if I want to get the value of this particular object, all I have to do is this, use the same strategy either by array notation or by dot notation. All right. So here you should have it as 3. That's it. So this is exactly how you can practice learning to access an element inside an array or an object. Yeah, that is it for today. So let me just see the live chat and you can start asking your doubts for the last session. I'll be happy to answer. Um, Array is a type of object, indexing by array. Array contains indexes, object contains keys. If one key have multiple values, not like an array, if one key have multiple values. I'm not sure what you're trying to ask. I'm sorry for that. Oh, hey Chaitanya. Happy to see you here. 2010 Justice League. I was totally concentrating on the code editor so that I cannot see the live chat. Basically, it's attached to another monitor. That's why. I have one doubt. Let object is equal to 1 hello, 2 welcome. Object of 1 is equal to hello. Object of 2 is equal to error. Yes, that is because you are trying to access it without having it inside quotes. Let me just copy it and show it to everyone so that that would be helpful to every single people. So what Vikram is trying to ask is that we are having an object like this and he is trying to access it as object of 1. That is giving me the value of hello. Nothing wrong in it. But he is also asking, what if I access it like this? Object of 2. This is giving me an error. He's asking me why is that? Because this is a string. If you are not, if you are forgetting to add quotations between any property, it will automatically try to decode it as a string, right? So let me just tell you what let me just try to rephrase what I was trying to say. So this particular key was a string, right? Turns out if I forget to use string here, it will automatically consider it as a string, but you should not have spaces. That is the catch. If you are having a space here, you should enclose it with a string, or else you do not have to enclose it with a string. This is completely fine, right? So that is why you are having the error, Vikram. So all you have to do is you have to enclose it with the strings and you are good to go. So 2 now with a string will give you the value, right? This is the important lesson we have learned. If any key is forgotten to be enclosed within strings, you cannot access it. It will be automatically converted to string unless and until you access it with the help of quotations. Right? Then why not 1 in string? Because 1 is a number and 1 can be done without the string actually. 1 is a number, that is why, and you have written 2 as 2, so it's a string. Thank you, Chaitanya. Like var obj, comma green. All right, so you're asking me how to have multiple values. That is exactly what I was having here, Gopal. So you need to have a key, all right? You need to have a value, and you need to have a comma, and you can repeat the same again and again. So this is what exactly it is. You have a key, value, you separate it with a comma, you have a key, value. That's it. It is possible. We are using absolute path. Can you please tell how we will use relative path? Ankush, this is what relative path is. Anything which is starting from dot and a forward slash is a relative path because you are assuming that we are already reached to the destination and all I want to reach is the inner files which contains on the parent directory. So what is our parent directory? Day 3, right? Day 3 is our parent directory. So that is why we were able to assume that we have come all the way up to day 3, and all I want to access is the files within day 3. That's it. So that is why we are using dot slash. Otherwise, we should have used like this, like colon and sorry, it's like this. Yeah, it's like this all the way up to desktop and AttainU. And this is my structure. You can do whatever you want. And I have JS Live, right? JS Live, and followed by day 3, and then you have app.js. So this is what absolute path means. But you do not have to code all these things because we are already inside day 3. So why do the redundant pattern? That is why we are having it as dot slash. Dot slash means it represents the current parent directory. All right. Okay, so what is REPL? REPL is something which is embedded inside the browser, which allows you to type JavaScript code natively without the help of a compiler. Because before days, we need to have the necessity to download a compiler which allows us to understand the programming language we were typing. So for C, we need to have GC, something like that. And for Java, we need to have the Java runtime. But in JavaScript, every single compiler is injected directly into the browser, and that is called as engine. V8 is an engine. SpiderMonkey is an engine. That engine is responsible for you to decipher JavaScript code, right? That is what REPL is. You can code live JavaScript and you can affect the document as well. That is why I was able to affect the document by alerting it. Right? If I have this alert and if I press enter, immediately the web browser gets affected. So this is closely related to the browser as well as it is also a playground. Right? So that is what it is. All right. I think I have. If there are any doubts in this lecture, please do tell me, and I will be very, very happy to explain. If the is the pace okay enough, or am I like rushing it? It's your feedback that matters. Is JavaScript code always injected in body tag of HTML? Yes, because you need to have some sort of combination in web browsers. Web browsers is all about websites, right? You should have all sorts of web applications, websites. So how can JavaScript run as a standalone thing? JavaScript is as a aiding factor to the websites. That is why I was saying back in 1995, the designers were asking for an interactive scripting language. So what if we click something? When I click something, something should happen, right? When I hover onto something or when I move my mouse, something should happen. They were expecting that back in 90s. So that is why this scripting language has occurred. So JavaScript cannot be run as a standalone until and unless you download Node.js. That is a different thing. In browsers, you need to have HTML. Then only you can make sure that you can run your JavaScript. Otherwise, you cannot output your code. That is what I'm trying to say. All right. Thank you. The pace is all right. Thank you, Adrish. All right. Then I have come to a conclusion for today's session. Thank you so much for joining all the 16 to 20 people. I think the pace is like constant for the last 3 days. I highly thank you for that. So yeah, I do not have any other words to say. If you do have any feedback, please do put it in the comments after this live stream ends so that I can take it into consideration and I definitely strive the best. Yeah. Rugesh, if you are super new to JS, I'm sorry to say this is just like a crash course. It's not like you will be compiling everything in 10 days. This is just like a crash course to make sure that you are getting some sort of benefit from this. Even I understand it sucks because 1 hour is definitely not enough. Our lectures extend from 2 hours to all the way up to 3, 4 hours because there are some topics that needs some sort of cool down time to understand. I can completely get it, but since we are using it as a crash course, feel free to contact our email and you'll get all the help you want. Right? If you want to know more about to learn these things. Yeah, the playlist is great. Shout out to Wipe Off. How to, hey sir, I want to ask how to access both value of object from false question. Oh, what was this question again? One second. One key has multiple values. Yeah. All right, all right. I literally misunderstood what Gopal's question was. I'm so sorry for that. So, guys, Gopal's question was if you could scroll all the way up to the live chat, he was asking whether one particular key could have multiple values. Yes, it's possible only if you are having an array. It's not like you cannot do this. Var object is equal to, all right, one. He was asking whether this is possible. No, this is wrong. Right? It will give me an error. Could you see this? It says unexpected token. But turns out you can wrap it as an array. So now you can have it as a collection. So that is why I was saying one key will not, cannot have multiple elements, but you can wrap it as an array if you want to have a collection of elements. I hope I solved your doubt at last, Gopal. And what was your question, Chandan? Var object is equal to apple, red, green. Yeah. Hope I, yeah. Hope I solved your question as well, Chandan. Increase duration to 2 hours if possible. I'm sorry for that. Why JS is loosely typed language? Again, it is due to the implementators who did that. Brendan is the guy who decided that. So, yeah. And moreover, back in the days, they were feeling a bit strained to use type languages. But again, there has been a debate nowadays to again bring back typing into JavaScript. And that's why TypeScript exists. TypeScript is something you can have types into JavaScript. Even I personally love TypeScript more than JavaScript. Ankush, if this answers your question, you can't assign a variable multiple values unless it's an array. Yes, exactly. Chaitanya, thank you for helping. All right. That's pretty much it. Let us have 3 more minutes and we'll close at 1:25. All right. How does that sound? I was thinking I have forgot chases. No, you did. Confusions do occur. Make Akesh video free. What is Akesh video? I'm sorry, I didn't get that. All right. So I guess that's it. We have 2 more minutes. Can I ask your questions? I just post it in the chat as well. Yeah. So the next topic is going to be about operators. We'll be learning how operators work, what are operators, and following that, we'll be learning how to use conditional operators, like less than, greater than, or how to use conditions, how to have decisions, how to make decisions along the programming language. Till now, every single line was running, right? If you go to the code editor, every single line was running all the way from line number 1 till 48. It turns out there are some ways to make decisions. If something is happening, only run these set of code, lines of code. If something is not happening, run these lines of code. There are ways to do that. So that is going to be our next topic, right? Yeah. Oh, he's the CEO of Brave Browser. Wow. That is a fun fact. That is an awesome fact, to be honest. Honestly, I haven't tried it before, but now you have told that the CEO is the creator of JavaScript. That creates a super enthusiasm to try it, to be very frank. All right, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and please do tune in tomorrow as well. We are going to crush these 10 days to our benefit, right? Bye bye. Have a nice day. Have a great lunch, right? Let me see you all tomorrow.